Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today we're doing a setup play and review for Tawantinsuyu by David Turdsey. Now, as you may have noticed, this is fully zoomed out. This is actually minus or 0.6 of a zoom, and I do this for some of the larger games. I do have an audience around who includes people who have not played it before. This can be set up as a 3, but I'll briefly mention it potentially as a 2 as well. So here we are, we have a layout for the board. Depending where you want to sit, it is pretty much symmetrical, but in this instance you can see some numbering going on. So this is set in the old ancient, I think, Incan Empire of like the Mayan times, about 600 AD, over around Mexico, Belize and Guatemala, which I've been to, and been to all the ruins around there, to Cal and Copan, which also names for other board games. So this is in the T series of games. I've played all the others. Check out my Tekken video, it's just out of shop presently. Also check out my other videos, such as obviously Tolkien was the first one, then there was Teotihuacan, I've got others after this as well, and as you can see, they're all very long names, very hard to pronounce. For your first game, you won't need to use this, but you can spin this around and play with it as you like, so that can go on top as well, which does look quite nice. And then based on players, who want to play various different players, you can play with various colours. So coming in shot now is if you want to play this colour, you've got these various statues that you want to bring out as well, so these large statues and small. I'll talk to you about them in a moment, but basically they're going to cost you resources. 3 stone for the small, and the large is 3 stone plus 2 gold. Now I've put out some cut cases here as well. Please let me know in the comments the best in YouTube so everyone else can see it as the stuff is shared. Everyone is going to take 8 of these God cards, so I'll just dish out some of these now. So we're playing this as a 3, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If that is an 8, we'll just double check that afterwards. And what you're going to be doing is using this to say where you wish to be going and what starting resources you want to be using. This is a high complex and medium to weight heavy Euro. The rating presently of 4.11, so it's one of the highest ones I do have on the channel presently. And there are various starting locations, various starting tapestries, which in this case, due to the size of the board, I'll leave over here. So these are relics, and everyone can pick for one of these when we play out the game. And there are more relics available, which you'll flip one flavour up. So when I say that, I mean, say, weavings. Okay, now there are some more coming into play, and that's if you're playing as a 3, which we will be. So if you're playing as a 4, there's some extra weavings to bring out. There are 7 because there are 7 different weavings. So they're going to get shuffled into this deck, and they can give you more victory points when you have unique ones using triangle numbers. So if you have 7, you get 21 points. With 6, you get 15 points, etc. 5 will give you 10, and so forth. Everybody's going to start off with some resources. Everyone is going to start off with 2 stone. So I'm going to chuck 2 stone presently for myself, 2 outs for my opponents each. Aim in the game is to get the most points. It is a 3-era round. 3 festivals will occur throughout the game. And if you happen to trigger a festival, you score 1 point in the first era, 2 and 4 respectively for those final 2nd and 3rd era games. There are some God cards, which we can talk to you about as well. Army cards, and we've also got a few other things, such as if you pass 100 points, you can get these, which we have done. And we also need to be peppering out the board. So depending on the player count, you're going to be chucking out various other resources. So like I said, one person's colour happens to be orange over here. We've got purple, and there's black, and I think white as well to play with. So we've also got a bag full of workers, of various different workers that can come out. And everyone is going to be drawing a certain amount. Now the way it's going to work is you are going to take 2 of each colour, and they're going to go into the bag, and everyone's going to draw 2 so they're unique. Now in this instance, it shouldn't make much difference as long as everyone's got a unique worker, but let me just show you what is in this bag. You have various workers and various abilities. So like I said, 2 are going to go in of each colour. It might even be 3 in fact for a 3-player game. So go 2 of those, 2 reds. Reds are basically a bit like the game 5 Tribes, where they are like assassins. Blue workers like to go with blue workers, they give additional tasks, etc. So basing it on this format, someone is going to be those 2. Someone is going to be, no Julia, I've done all that already, so I've taken out the respective stuff. So someone is going to be those 2, and I've got Julia just on camera as well, and I happen to be these 2. These are starting workers that you can have. You can only have a maximum of 2 workers. If you have more than 2, you're going to discard down, and then you can put everything else back in the bag. Let me talk to you about other stuff that you also have out and how you play this game. If you, like I said, any chance to follow along on Facebook or Instagram, you can obviously join the discussion on Facebook. On Instagram, they laser photos over 3,000 posts. So everyone can take their various large discs, and everyone starts on the 10 victory points, and the statue marker starts on 0. And obviously for purple as well, I'll be doing that the same. Other these counters, you'll be coming to the games you need to, such as games other locations. Okay, so we have blue, so Razor is going to be playing as blue. There we go. And also, if you wish to, check out Gamers Online to rank your plays. So for now, I'll just pop these back in the bag. So what are these various tokens? They can be going out here to go down steps, which can cost you resources. Everyone is going to start off in the temple, and you're going to point this in the direction of your choice. But we need to establish a first player, and then from that, decide where you may want to put out your various workers. So, like I said, there's various ways of gaining points. Let me show you how you gain points. On your turn, you can go to a location. You currently have 2 workers. Now in a 2-player game, there are places where you plant out certain workers. The game starts off quite slowly initially. I can take my worker and go anywhere I like, but let's say I start off in this position. On my turn, I can do one of a number of things. I can bring out a worker. I can place it out, but firstly, I need to be discarding some cards. So let's say I discard these 5 cards, and I'll instantly get the various stuff on here, okay? So I get the resources, gold, victory points, potatoes. I'll explain what that means in a second. But I've kept 3 cards. Why do I want to keep certain cards? Because in this instance, I might want to have a blue worker if I've got that respective symbol, which as it turns out, I do not. Maybe I want to place someone in a green worker, which I happen to have. So I'll show you how that works. So I've got this guy here, and I play out a green worker. So I've started off in this zone, let's say, and I'm in this 5th section of the board. It's my first turn, I've got my resources, I've now moved down here. The cost to move down here is 0. If you wanted to go somewhere else and trigger a different benefit, so a different thing you can gain, it's going to cost you 2 for crossing steps. If you want to go even further down, it's going to cost you a total of 5 to go from the top to the bottom. And that represents food. Food because of more extra A and energy and labour to get down here. Equally, that is known as descending. If you wish to move across first, so you want to go down this section from here, you spend 1 food, that's either corn or potato, to come down here. So that's 1 to rotate and then down. Equally, it can be 1 in this direction, 1 potato or corn, to go to roam, left or right. But if you want to go to further sections from where your high priest is, it's going to cost you 3 potatoes or 3 corn. So that's how you do it. And then you descend. So if you want to go here, it's going to cost you 3, and then it's going to cost another 2 and potentially another 3 as well. So it's going to cost you 3, and total of 5 to get down here to 8. Like I said, I've discarded some cards which gave me some potatoes. So potatoes are over here. So maybe I want to have some potatoes. Maybe I want to have some corn. So on your turn, you're going down and triggering what you can do. You normally only ever get 1 task, but there's other things you can do as well. So this will give me 1 task, which can give me 3 potatoes, which can help me for movement. It can let me build a building, which has a various cost. So buildings you'll see are visible in a second. You'll have 2 of these visible, so off to one side, let's have something like this, and you're going to have 2 permanent buildings, which allow you to do stuff. 2 passive buildings, whereas you might also have regular buildings, regular workers, which can give you other things too. Again, you need to pay the cost, which means in a future turn, you can trigger that ability by going to a spot where one might exist, such as here, flip one of these over and get the reward. A wild, which is a gold, or 2 victory points.
You don't have to flip if you use it.
Oh, sorry, you don't have to flip if you use it. And then also, you obviously get gold or brick. So that's how that works. So that is one thing you can be doing. Now, equally, if I happen to then recruit an extra green worker and place it next to them, the abilities of greens is it actually allows you to take another action, another task, but it must be different to what you've just triggered. So this comes out as well. This is used for harvest. This is the village. Once in a 3-player game, as you can see, they have all gone. That triggers a harvest, which means everyone else gets 1 more turn, but the person who triggered it gets a point. There's a harvest or festival. So in this case, I can pay an extra potato at the end of my turn to take one of these workers, or an extra corn from this end to take one of these workers. But again, I'm going to have to discard down. So let me talk to you about what you can do. So we talked about placing a worker. Again, it has to match the symbol. And the number of tasks depends, depending on firstly if it matches, you get an additional 1 here. So if I went here, if I have a god card representing that, that's a single task taking one of those things. This one gives me 2 because it matches it as it's a green. Blues are similar, if they match the colour, you get another one. And you get an additional point. So for example, if I had a green was already out and say it was here, you get an additional point, additional task because it matches a colour that's already there. Regardless of any of those 5 colours, it always gives you an extra task. So a task must be different, like I said, to what you've already picked. In this case, I took 3 potatoes. I can draw 2 army cards. You're going to discard 1, keep the other. That stays in your hand. I'll talk to you about what you might want to do. So you can have as many as 7 different tasks. We have never seen it happen, but that's something you can do. Instead of doing this, maybe you're out of potatoes and you can't go anywhere else, or you haven't got any god cards relevant. Instead, you can do the following. 2 different things. Either move the High Priest 1 or 2 spaces, triggering what it does. In this case, you can flip over all of your army cards, or you can instead do something else, such as you can rejuvenate, that's known as. You can also choose to go over here, which is known as Conquest, and you can basically play out one of these cards from your hand. Sometimes they have 1 people, sometimes they have 2 people on them, and what that can let you do is go down to these locations. So you can be more than 1 card, and what you can choose to do is if you go here, you're flipping over one of those cards, and in this case you can get the reward, which in this case would give you 2 god cards. You could also lose one of your cards, but it has to be the right way up, to gain a benefit here, which again is a weaving and a god card. The reason why you might want to go to the right is when we reach a festival, whoever's got the rightmost marker gets the point if it's in a tie. So otherwise, if you only need 1 person there, you're going to get the points. The points are going to equal to the amount of killed off villagers. Okay, so we're going to have people laid out here as well, which we also need to lay out. And this is a 4K recording, so you can zoom in, and you might want to, repeat viewing of this as well. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And of course, you can support the channel via Patreon. Occasionally, I have competitions via Linktree, but they are time sensitive, so they do disappear. Okay, so we've talked about these 2 things. We've talked about now offerings as well. So this is just the High Priest element of that secondary action. So you can go over here, and this is an offering. What this means is you can pay 2 corn to move up this track. So you can pay 2 corn to move up 1 position, 4 to move up 2, 6 to move up 3. So if I moved up 3 in 1 hit, you get every benefit that you hit along the way. So you can take either a stone, or you can take someone from the nomadic tribe. You can also obviously get 2 army cards, keeping 1, get a potato and a god card. And when we reach the festival zone, if you happen to be in these zones as well, you get bonus points as well. As a 2, we've never hit that zone. What else is there? But that's only at the end of the game that you trigger this one. Okay, so we finally got over around here, everything that we've talked about. So we've talked about producing, which again you can flip face down to get the benefits. So now let's talk about the other things you can be doing on a secondary turn. We talked about moving the priest. Another thing you can do is pray to get 2 more god cards, which allows you to have more options on where you're placing out people. You can train, which is drawing 2 of those army cards. Again, drawing 2, be keeping 1, discarding the other. And lastly, recruiting. You take 1 worker from that nomad for free, and then refill the nomad from the bag. And that's the game. So when we talk about the festival, everyone takes place 1 round after the village becomes empty, which again is here. You replenish. So basically, if you've got any of these weaving tokens and they happen to align, so currently if you happen to have something like this, then you're going to get yourself 2 stone because those weavings match. So it's a bonus. So it's a bit like a pattern match if you can get that to work. You get any rewards from the temple on the right hand side. You also score for the most right conquest marker if it's in a tie. Otherwise, if you've got the most, then you'll gain the points, again equal to the amount of casualties of war. You pay 1 potato for each god card in your hand, and you lose 2 victory points per missing potato. You refill the village, again over here, but you skip that in the final era, final festival, and you draw cards, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th player, based on the current victory points. So in a 2-player game, if you are in the lead, you're drawing 1 card, the person in the back draws 2. In a 3-player game, the person in the lead draws 1, the 2 back markers draw 2 points each. Then each player may discard up to 3 of your god cards to again gain the benefits. That is pretty much how the game goes. You've also got these cards which you can discard to get their benefits as well. That pretty much sums up the game. It's about moving, triggering, trying to get as many, obviously, tasks as possible. If you happen to get 4 tasks, so for example, that would occur in something like this, like that, and you went here, then you'd get 1 for going there, a 2nd one because it's green, a 3rd one for going because it's adjacent, a 4th one for going adjacent, and because it matches the same colour, you get 5. That's 6 actions you can actually get. But of course, you're going to stop someone from trying to do that. Then you'll be getting this, this, and this in any order you like. But because you go through them all again, you then take a 4th and 5th and 6th action. However, you can't use those abilities to then power up that one, as an example. So again, you get buildings, which can help you get more of an engine going. You get potatoes, that with movement. Yellow characters, by the way, how they work, they're known as couriers. They're cheaper to build out these things. You can get steps, so everyone's got steps. So if you build out steps, they cost you 3 stone. They allow you to go down here 1 cheaper. You also gain 4 victory points, 2 potatoes, and a corn. So, and anyone who uses them gives the owner 2 victory points. So we've always made sure we've avoided that so far. We have priests in white. You take 1 gold card from the offer. So the minute there's no cards out, but as soon as you play out a card, that goes into the pile. So a group of 3 cards. More than 3 cards, you reset those 3 cards, they get shuffled into the deck and you place out your new card. And what's going to happen is you can then pay a potato to get an extra task. We've talked about blues and greens. They're called greens are craftsmen, blues architects, and basically you get an extra ability when it's next to your space. And lastly, the warriors are in red, and they if they can basically take an adjacent worker other than the warrior and draw 1 army card. So that's the game. My overview of this game hopefully wasn't too stilted. It's coming back from COVID, so a bit rusty, but hopefully everything's fairly clear. I'm getting some sort of nods. It's a game where I would rate it at least an 8 out of 10. Technically, I give it an 8.2. This is just over an 8 for me. This is in my David Turdsey playlist. It's also in my How to Set Up Play and Review playlist, my AmassGames playlist, and my Board and Dice playlist, amongst others. Thanks for watching. Again, look forward to any comments you may have, and hopefully that gives you an overview. But crucially, it's a movement game whereby obviously trying to get workers, it's a worker placement game. It's an efficiency, engine building, heavy or medium heavy Euro game as well, whereby over 3 areas you're trying to get the most points by activating various abilities and trying to be as efficient as optimal as you can. It's a bit of a crunch going on because you've got to only work with what you have. Of the 85 slots, you can only go with what cards you have. And you can either go for statues. So if you happen to have a statue, again, you need to go to the statue icon to trigger that. It lets you buy them, as I said, for 3 stone or 3 plus 2 gold for large ones. Give you 3 victory points or 9 victory points. And if you happen to reach a zone such as here, you can discard a small one to move up a space or a large one to move up 3 spaces. However, if you play out one of your cards and you have one of those statues, such as this, you also gain what the bottom benefit is as well. So that's a great idea to try and do, but in practice, I didn't do it once in the last game and I happened to win, just because you obviously need to get 3 stone to go to that location, which of course is down a lower step anyway, to then make sure you have the cards to then play them out. Luck coming into these weavings, I got lucky by drawing what I needed to hit my 6th and 7th weaving to obviously make 21 points at the end. So that was a big factor, and some of the passive abilities was all I went for in the last game as well, which seemed to kick in too. But a lower score, and I actually rushed the game, getting rid of these workers too, which happened to give me a total score in the nice sort of 90s. So that happened to work effectively as well. Thanks for watching, but for now, back to the table.